Hi, so I'm Justin. I'm going to be talking today about how news shapes public opinion. Well, I first want to start off with one question, which is the first part of my research. Exactly what is public opinion? Well, precisely, public opinion is the perspective, the panorama of a multitude of individuals, the individuals in preponderance to a particular issue of relevance within the society that we live in. And my next part of my research basically outlines what are public opinion polls, because public opinion polls are utilized to sculpt and articulate a perspective that is ultimately interpreted by the public, which is representative of public opinion. So, public opinion polls are a variable form. They can be surveys, they can be phone calls, they can be text messages, they can be any sort of way to measure an individual's perspective. And so, public opinion polls are comprised of a multiplicity of integrants. These integrants are individuals from different backgrounds. So these integrants represent these differential backgrounds. And ultimately, cohesively, the opinion of the majority of individuals, the preponderance, which is public opinion, is sculpted by these public opinion polls, because these are little samples of individuals from different correlating backgrounds. And together they form a unified picture of the perspective that these individuals have on a particular topic. So, with that, there's a multiplicity of public opinion polls biasness. And through my next part of my research, this outlines such a concept. And my conceptualization of this is quite intricate, rather. I researched heavily into this, and my research indicated that public opinion polls alludes to deficiencies in a realm of biasness. And that is because individuals that conduct these public opinion polls are already leaning towards one side of a particular issue, one perspective. And usually when they conduct these public opinion polls, they try to preference that one side by doing a multitude of things. They can either exploit the deficiencies within the poll and articulate them in their favor so that their opinion, their perspective that they really want to promote is promoted. So they can do it by doing that, or they can arrange the questions to be sort of leading and trying to promote the idea that the reconfiguration of the question in a confusing manner can certainly confuse and perplex an individual to selecting an answer that is favoring to the perspective of the survey distributor. And another way that they can do this is by underrepresenting the minority of a population, which is the most common way where individuals are underrepresented because they are either in an area where this issue is very relevant and the person that is conducting the survey, distributing it, and ultimately conveying it to the public has a perspective that is unaligned with this. And these discrepancies they don't want to promote to the public, and because of that, they tend to leave these individuals out. So these underrepresented minorities are left out of these polls, and usually the people from high-end places are represented in place of them. So the next part of my research is how polls affect public opinion. Well, because of the articulation, because of the misconceivement that is bestowed upon the public, because of these polls being biased in nature, public opinion is affected in a way that is quite detrimental, in fact. So, because of biasness, because articulation of polls can present a fact, can present a perspective that is in unalignment with what people really feel about the issue in places that are are struggling, particularly LMI communities is a very good example of this, where issues are prevalent. In contrast to a nicer, higher end area, these individuals are underrepresented. And but having viewed these sort of results from the public opinion polls, if you're an individual underrepresented and you're seeing that the data suggests that the majority of individuals are viewing this issue in a perspective that is in alignment with yours, then certainly that's going to have an effect that is transformative, where it can potentially reconfigure your own views, have you rethink your own opinion of the issue, and question whether your opinion is right. And that's the effect that polls have on public opinion through the utilization of public opinion polls. So the next part of my research outlines how the news alters public opinion. So through the distribution of public opinion polls, public opinion is articulated through a mediator, and that mediator is the news. It's the way that this information gets distributed to the public, and individuals that are in places that are solitary are still able to view and understand public opinion, understand the preponderance of individuals' perspective on a particular issue, because the news is so prevalent in individuals' lives contemporaneously. And exactly, viewing the news can certainly have an effect on individuals because public opinion polls are presented through these sources. And obviously, numerous deficiencies, which brings me to my last part of my research, are bestowed upon individuals because of these biased surveys, because of distributed opinion polls being altered and misconceived in ways where a perspective is preferenced. And because of this, a lot of disagreeableness does arise in a society. Hindrances do arise and are representative of discrepancies. And speaking of discrepancies, particularly between people that are underrepresented in communities where problems are prevalent in contrast to the areas that are of high end value. And this really does show in these opinion polls. Sometimes they are very inaccurate, and though they do show the percentage of inaccuracy because they're only taking a small sample within their evaluation of the public opinion, it's not exactly accurate as they do consider themselves to be because of the biasness in the underlying substructure within the articulation of these public opinion polls. So these deficiencies are innumerable, and we need a solution to sort of portray a perspective to the public through the news, to articulate public opinion in a way of truthfulness. And doing so will allow for coherency to be existent within individuals' differentiated perspectives on a particular issue. And so a solution to this can be to configure the public opinion polls in a way to where individuals that are represented in culture minorities are done so in a way where biasness is completely negligible. And doing so will marginalize errors and will provide the public with a perspective, with data for them to interpret their perspective in a coherent manner with those that were interviewed. And because of the biasness in reduction, the coherency within these perspectives will certainly be applicable with each other, compatible in a way where discussion can be can be of commonality in respects to disagreeableness and negligibility. And having this elemental factor represented inside an evaluation or a survey can certainly promote public opinion and can certainly promote public opinion to be a neutrality concept where individuals are portrayed evenly and the news is portraying information that is reliable. And having reliable information is important to sculpting the public opinion and in a way where everything is interpreted truthfully and everything is made to be agreeable. And though disagreement will exist, disagreement will not be as compounded as it has been with the elemental discrepancies that arise from public opinion poll biasness. And so that is exactly how the news shapes public opinion. What discrepancies are in transpiration of the configuration of these public opinion polls in a way where one particular perspective is represented and another is of inferiority. And I thank you for your attention.